It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today we're going to preview the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champion. And before we get started, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense. The Kansas City Chiefs are coming off of a thrilling Super Bowl victory against the San Francisco 49ers, their first since 1969. What was the most impressive about the Chiefs' 2019 season was how they were able to navigate through a season that definitely had its challenges, from losing Patrick Mahomes for 2 games because of a fluke knee injury, to being down 24-0 to the Houston Texans in the AFC divisional playoffs, to even being down 10 points in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl. They overcame a lot, as most Super Bowl teams tend to do, because they came so close in 2018, losing the AFC title game in overtime to the New England Patriots, and broke through last season, winning the whole thing. The question then becomes, okay, what's next? Will we see that same level of hunger and urgency from Kansas City, or will they become the new New England Patriots and make the Super Bowl a common occurrence? That will be one of the major storylines to watch unfold this upcoming season. Even though last season you acknowledged that the Chiefs had arguably the best offense in football, there was still one element missing from their arsenal, and that was a game-breaking running back. Last year, Kansas City finished 23rd in the NFL in rushing. They were productive and efficient, but you kept wondering to yourself, man, imagine if this offense had a Kareem Hunt. Well, they went out and got themselves a difference maker in the first round of the 2020 NFL draft in Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU. He was dynamic for the Tigers last season and displays every one of the traits Andy Reid wants in his running backs. He's elusive, he's explosive, and is dynamic in the passing game, both as a receiver and also in pass pro. So expect him to push the Chiefs' ground game into the top 10, making an already explosive offense even more so. Another area where the Chiefs wanted to get better was on the defensive side of the ball. KC was 17th in total defense last year, and they did a better job playing late down the stretch of the season. I think we saw a difference from that Chargers game in Mexico City all the way through the Super Bowl. It looked as though they were a much more sound defensive football team overall. Now, in the offseason, they went out and added Tedrick Thompson from Seattle and drafted some speedy athletic defenders and defensive backs L'Jarius Sneed and also the Darius Keys out of Tulane, as well as linebacker Willie Gay Jr. in an attempt to be much more athletic and able to match up a lot better on that side of the ball. And what we saw defensively from an improvement standpoint meant for them down the backstretch of the season, and the Chiefs are hoping to start 2020 in that same manner. With the COVID-19 pandemic hanging over the NFL season, teams experienced many opt-outs from players this year, and one of the major ones was starting guard Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who also happens to be an MD. As the start of reporting for camp was looming, LDT decided that he had a higher calling to his native country of Canada to go on the front lines, just like he did last year for the Chiefs offensive front, and lend his services to helping fight the pandemic. He's a doctor and took a Hippocratic oath to service and will sorely be missed up front for KC. It does leave a gaping hole on the left side, one that they will spend training camp trying to plug up. There's nothing more that can be said about Patrick Mahomes that hasn't already been said. The Chiefs struck gold when they drafted him 4 seasons ago, and he has already delivered an MVP award as well as a Super Bowl trophy. He was given one of the largest contracts this offseason, essentially securing his services for the next decade. Like a fine piece of art, when you see something you like, you have to grab it. Well, the Chiefs saw enough of Mahomes to want him to stick around for the duration of his NFL career. Now, the more interesting storyline to me this training camp will be the battle for the QB2 spot. Kansas City signed Jordan Ta'amu, who was excelling in the XFL with the St. Louis Battlehawks before the season ended because of the pandemic. Now, Ta'amu is a type of dual threat at the position that thrives in today's game and will go to battle with Matt Moore, who stepped in and kept the team on pace last year during the 2 games that Mahomes missed because of an injury. Last season, the Chiefs didn't have a running back to finish with over 500 yards, and while both backs did finish close to that number and had a solid yards per carry average, there was still something lacking from the backfield. That's the major reason why they wanted to add Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU. When you look at what he does well, you start to harken back to a guy like Brian Westbrook and what he did under Andy Reid in that Eagles offense, and with offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy at the controls, who was a stellar tailback in his own right. He'll be sure to give Edwards-Helaire the carries and touches that he needs to push his ground game forward. Now, after Edwards-Helaire are a bevy of complementary guys that are capable of coming in and providing an impact on offense. They are very similar in their skill set, but the one guy the team wants to see make a jump this year is second-year player Darwin Thompson out of Utah State, who has legit speed, explosiveness, and a good bit of elusiveness. And also having fullback Anthony Sherman back in the fold will help make the job a lot easier for whoever is back there in the backfield, as he's one of the better fullbacks in the NFL. I don't think many give wide receiver Tyreek Hill his just due at the position. I still feel as though many view him as a gadgety special teamer with Olympic speed. But when you look at how consistent he's been since entering the NFL, he is significantly much more than that. The two-time All-Pro, has also made the Pro Bowl in each season he's been in the league, and led the receivers in receiving last year despite missing 4 games with an injury suffered in the opener. Now joining him again is Sammy Watkins, who is coming off of an impressive playoff run and Super Bowl, and Mecole Hardman, who proved to be an impact player as a rookie, finishing with 538 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. He also averaged an impressive 20.7 yards per catch. Now the Chiefs may have the fastest starting trio in the NFL, and they'll also find a way to work in Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, and Garrett Dieter as well. Tight end Travis Kelce continues to lead the way for the position as he's coming off his 5th straight Pro Bowl appearance and led the team in receiving as well. He's also an excellent receiver who is a strong run after the catch guy and got a new contract this offseason. In an attempt to strengthen the depth at the position, the Chiefs signed the athletic Ricky Seals-Jones, who gives him another stretch option at tight end, and he figures to compete well with Deion Yelder, who's starting to develop nicely within their program. Along the offensive line, the Chiefs are strong at the offensive tackle spot. Both Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz are amongst the best in the league, with Schwartz making a strong case to be the best right tackle in football. The depth is good here as well. They have Martinez Rankin, who is returning from a patella injury that he suffered later in the season, and Mike Remmers, the longtime veteran who comes over from the New York Giants. And I also like undrafted rookie free agent Yasir Durant out of Missouri. I believe he has a really good chance to make the roster. Guard is where we'll see the most intrigue this offseason for Kansas City. We spoke about Laurent Duvernay-Tardif opting out, which leaves the left guard spot in question. Now the Chiefs hope that answer will come in the form of either second-year player Nick Allegretti or Andrew Wiley, who started some games last year up front. Now at right guard, expect free agent signing Kelechi Osemele, who played last year with the New York Jets, to hold down that position. Inside at center, there are no questions about Austin Ryder, who is one of the better pass blockers at the position in football. Moving over to the defensive side of the line of scrimmage, Kansas City was able to get their star defensive tackle Chris Jones a new contract. It was well deserved, as he is a very disruptive force up front, and last year we saw him lead the team in sacks with 9 and also in QB hits with 20, despite only starting 12 games. Adding Frank Clark last year was a big boost to the edge. He was second on the team in sacks with 8, but was extremely disruptive as well versus the run, making 12 stops behind the line of scrimmage, and he only started 11 games. So you can see why many are excited about the defensive line heading into the season as they get guys healthy and ready to play a full 16 games, and that's what they hope they can get out of Alex Okafor, who's coming off of a torn pec muscle, and prior to that, he was proven to be a solid acquisition for them defensively. And Derek Nadi started to become one of the better players on this unit toward the back half of the season, and it will be interesting to see the growth and development in year 2 from former 3rd round pick Colin Saunders. They are expecting big things from him this upcoming year. Mike Peno and Tano Passanio give them good rotational depth up front, with each playing their role quite well. And Breeland Speaks figures to be in a make or break season, but he did show signs of being a disruptive player before getting hurt last preseason and missing the rest of the year. So he'll be pushed by rookie Michael Dana out of Michigan, who figures to see time as a rotational rusher up front. He and free agent signing Taco Charlton, the former 1st round pick, will round out the depth for Kansas City along the defensive line. I think at linebackers where Kansas City will be looking to see improved play this season. Guys like Damian Wilson and Anthony Hitchens were an integral part to the defensive turnaround late last year as they played quite well, but there is still a playmaking element to the second level that is lacking, in my opinion, and that's where rookie Willie Gay Jr. out of Mississippi State comes into the picture. The Chiefs drafted Gay with the hopes that he can be their playmaking backer in coverage, as he has solid instincts and ball skills in zone and the athleticism to match up in man coverage versus backs and some tight ends. So he'll see a ton of action this upcoming year, and both Dorian O'Daniel and Ben Neiman are solid special teamers who are still growing into more of a consistent role within the rotation at the second level. Kansas City has done a solid job over the last couple of seasons in stabilizing the secondary, starting at cornerback with Rashad Breeland, who was solid last year and was brought back into the fold. Javarius Ward, to me, was a godsend since coming over in a trade a few years ago. You can argue that he was their best corner last season, and Rashad Fenton, the second-year player out of South Carolina, had a very strong rookie season and figures to lock down that starting slot role once again. And they went out and invested more into the position with L'Jarius Sneed out of Louisiana Tech, who played both corner and safety in college and will be making a move back to corner in KC. He's a long, athletic player with ball skills, and they also drafted Bo Pete Keys out of Tulane, and undrafted free agent rookie Lavert Hill is, to me, one of the sleepers at the position, and he gives them good depth in the slot. Now at safety, Tyrann Mathieu is coming off of an all-pro season. He's one of the more instinctive and smartest defensive backs in football, and watching him operate on the back end is truly a joy to watch. His young protege in Juan Thornhill looks to be following in those same footsteps as Mathieu. As he proved his worth as a rookie, he tore an ACL prior to the playoffs and figures to be back at full strength by week 1 of 2020. He and Mathieu give KC a strong safety duo. They get good depth from Daniel Sorensen, whose game-saving interception against the Chargers in Mexico City, to me, was the spark that turned around that entire season for the defense. Both he and Tedrick Thompson gives them good versatility and depth at safety. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website ninethandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Nesby Phipps, art, life, entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Financial Coaching LLC, investment, retirement, security. Stewardship Credit, financial growth is in your hands. Stewardshipcredit.com. Adrienne Marie Photo, photographer, writer, management. AdrienneMariePhotography.com. Lock Multimedia. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Maurice French out of Pitt is a player to keep an eye on at training camp. He's capable of playing across the formation, tracks the ball really well, and plays on all special teams. He was a joy to watch compete out there at Pitt. Defensively, Amari Cobb out of Marshall is an intriguing prospect. He's got the athletic makeup and the length to play inside or outside backer, and is solid in both man and zone coverage. He has a chance to surprise this summer. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was an easy pick for a rookie impact player on offense, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him win Rookie of the Year as well. I expect him to have that type of impact in Kansas City. Defensively, it will be Willie Gay Jr. who stands out and makes his presence felt. There is an opportunity for a linebacker to step up and consistently make plays, and I feel like that'll be Gay who does it. I think Nick Allegretti will end up getting that starting nod at guard, and if he can hold down the fort and become an asset, then it will really lessen the blow from losing Laurent Duvernay-Tardif this offseason. So that's why I picked him to be the offensive X factor. Now on the other side of the ball, Alex Okafor being out there for a full season just adds to the potential potency of this Chiefs pass rush. Okafor is a very good football player who has been snake bitten by injuries. I think Mecole Hardman is ready to fully break out this season. It's hard to say breakout after the strong year he had as a rookie, but I do think he can find enough opportunities to flirt with a 1,000-yard season. And Colin Saunders got his feet wet last year as a rookie, and with the second year in his defense, expect him to play faster, which will yield a much more disruptive and productive player this upcoming year. A big reason for optimism for Kansas City is that their already explosive offense got much better this offseason by adding a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So when you look at what they did last year and add an explosive back, you have to be optimistic. And they're young defensive stars in year two. You're talking about Juan Thornhill. You're looking at Rashad Fenton. You're looking at Colin Saunders. All those guys are expected to take the next step this upcoming year. And Andy Reid is still a head coach in Kansas City, which will always give them a chance to be successful for the long term. A cause for concern would be the fact that they're replacing Dustin Colquitt, who was a fixture in Kansas City and a legit defensive weapon. They have to figure out the punting situation because that's a huge part of what they do defensively. And if those linebackers don't progress and take the next step, I think that could really set back the defensive progress they made late last season and throughout the playoffs. So if those two things don't find a way to find a remedy, it could be a problem for KC this upcoming season. The road to the Super Bowl, again, for Kansas City goes as follows. Mahomes just has to play like Mahomes. We've seen this the last couple of seasons, and if he does what he has always done, it should be more of the same offensively. But if that run defense improves to the top 10, I think that could be special and put this team on a fast track to the Super Bowl. And if Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who we've talked about all throughout this video, is able to get over 1,000 yards rushing, adding to what we know they're going to do in the passing game, then Kansas City could find themselves going back to Florida for the Super Bowl. I have the Chiefs finishing first in the AFC West. This is going to be a very competitive AFC West division, so it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to win this division easily. They're going to have to fight and scratch and claw to get to the end of this race and be number one, but they do have the talent, they have the quarterback, they have the coach. That's why I believe Kansas City will end up making their way through this treacherous schedule and being first in the division. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32. I am Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan, as well as subscribing on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating. That's where you can find our NFL All 32 podcast. And keep it locked here on the Football Game Plan YouTube channel, as we will have a ton more Chiefs-related video content coming down the pipe.
It's D-U-E, you tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have the team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have the team become a unit, yeah.